Okay. So when we look at a text, right, we need to be aware of what it's doing. Now, every type of text is trying to achieve something. So, I don't know, have you guys ever read a book and gone to Goodreads afterwards and someone leaves the dumbest review? Okay. So, like, it will be, uh, let's say, an urban fantasy. So, an urban fantasy is going to have some kind of fantasy creature or something inside a city. So, if you are reading an urban fantasy, that is what you can expect, right? So, if I then go, after reading an urban fantasy, go onto Goodreads and complain about the fact that the setting would have been better in the countryside, I have fundamentally misunderstood the genre. Okay? We are all on the same page there, right?
Yep, that makes sense.
Okay. This is also happening with you guys in how you're approaching your work. You're fundamentally misunderstanding the genre. Pretend that each of these things are a genre, because they really are. Okay? A sports report is a genre of writing, a podcast is a genre of writing. But now you've got different types of podcasts, right? You've got the podcast, I can turn this lesson into a podcast. Okay? But then you also get the podcast where you've got like three people having a conversation, and then you've got that other Peterson guy, the idiot. He does his own podcasty thing, I think. I don't know. I have a friend, my best friend, used to listen to Jordan Peterson. You see, I, I make it my mission to change the world, not expect them to already be above the bar. Um, he no longer listens to Jordan Peterson because of me. 10 years of friendship can do that to you. You'll stop listening to crap. Anyway, but then you've got someone said, Joe Rogan. So someone said the problem with the Joe Rogan podcast is that you get 2 hours in and suddenly it starts making sense. And you become like, that's very scary. That's a very scary moment to experience. Okay? Because you're listening to this and it starts making sense, but if it starts making sense and you know that it's absolute rubbish, it's because they talk so much that you eventually start to believe their lies. Okay? Um, and when I say lies, I'm literally talking about just full misinformation, incorrect scientific approach, stuff like that. Okay? So that is a method of doing a podcast. So you'll have your shorter podcasts, which are like 20, 30 minutes. I listen to podcasts which are 10 minutes. Then you've got your 3, 4 hour long podcasts. Okay. And some people will work while listening to podcasts. Okay. Then you've got, let's say, a book. Okay. Mistborn. You guys know I all know I love Mistborn. Okay, so I'm a really big Mistborn fan. Now, they want to make a Mistborn movie, which is just never going to happen. But they want to make a Mistborn movie, and people keep complaining because they're like, yeah, no, but like, it's not going to be the same. Well, yes, it is not going to be the same because a movie is a different genre to a book. It has different tools at its disposal. Okay? In a book, it costs you no extra money to have a castle explode. In a movie, it costs quite a bit of money, so you might need to find a way to make that a little bit cheaper, right? And then an audiobook, you can either do an audiobook where it's one person reading the book, or you can do an audio drama. All of these are the same piece of media presented in different ways. Okay? So like an audiobook is going to I really like acted audiobooks where you've got a whole cast of characters. I love it. Um but it's not always appropriate. Like if we look at Twilight, okay? Did any of you ever read Twilight?
No.
Well, I would say there's a hole in your upbringing, but also like lucky you. But Twilight is from the perspective of Bella, okay? And I mean, yeah. Uh, anyway, it's not well written, but it did change the way that people saw the genre, okay? It was the first big piece of genre, big piece of that type of genre in, yeah. But then you have, so with Twilight, Bella is telling the story, okay? Then in New Moon, because there are 4 books, I think there were extra books afterwards, but I never read them. I read the first 4 because that was the series, and then they just tried to make more money off it. So yeah, I was like a real Twilight fangirl. Like I was so into it as a teenager. I was a teenager. I was like 15, 16, and it was so vibey and it was trashy and it was great. And but anyway, and I liked the music in the movies. But the movies were different to the books. I read the books first and then watched the movies. But the thing is, the story is told from the perspective of Bella. You're hearing her internal dialogue. So if you're hearing her internal dialogue, it doesn't make sense to have like this, to have multiple actors in the audiobook, right? However, in New Moon, the second part of New Moon is from Jacob's perspective. Okay, Jacob is the wolf. Okay. So it's from Jacob's perspective. So then obviously they're going to need to use a different actor, a different voice actor, to read that part of the audiobook. Theoretically. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Other books like this are things like The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. If you guys haven't read that book, it's amazing. It is the best piece of autistic representation I've ever seen in literature, other than Sherlock Holmes. But I mean, Sherlock Holmes is also good autistic representation. But the thing is, we look at something within its context. I am not going to judge a book because it didn't have enough pictures. Okay? But I'm definitely going to judge an audiobook if it's got no words. Like, I can't take a silent film and turn it into an audiobook. It's going to be weird. So there is a certain context with that things need to be in for them to make sense, right? So let's just take a look at the books on my desk here. So this is fantasy, the Keys to the Kingdom. This is fantasy, like a lot of death, magic-y stuff. Love it. But it is very, very different to a series of unfortunate events. And I've spoken to you guys before about a series of unfortunate events. Okay. Now, a series of unfortunate events is written for children. Okay. But it's written for children in a way that it assumes that adults are stupid, which is great. And Lemony Snicket actually, even when he writes for adults, I don't like his writing for adults. Lemony Snicket is a pseudonym. But I don't like his writing for adults because it feels there's something wrong with it because he's very condescending towards adults. With kids, he assumes that you can make the connections. With adults, he over-explains. So he genuinely believes that adults are stupid, clearly. But even in this book, he'll use words like I just want to find a cool. Here. I don't mean to be vainglorious, Uncle Monty began, using a word which here means braggy, but I really am one of the most widely respected herpetologists in the world. Okay, so it uses a word and then it explains the word, but it doesn't explain the context around it necessarily. And it adds a bit of like punchiness to what he's saying. Okay, so that is appropriate for that book. But if I say that in my emails to my to parents, they're going to really feel like I'm speaking down at them. Okay, you know. And then I've got, what else do I have here? I've got how to analyze texts, which is quite damaged. Good golly. Okay, how to analyze texts, toolkit for students of English. Great book. Very, very bland, but it has exercises in, which are really, really great exercises. Okay, I should actually use some of these exercises with you guys sometimes. They're really cool. Anyway, so it's a really interesting book, but it doesn't give much content. It helps you work through the process of learning how to analyze text. So this book assumes that in order to analyze text, it doesn't need to tell you how to do it. It needs to show you through practice and repetition. Okay. Then I've got a yoga book here. Now, a yoga book without pictures is gonna suck. Have you ever had read a yoga book without pictures? Okay, well, who reads yoga books except me? But anyway, it's a yoga book, and obviously it has pictures. If I had to buy a yoga book without pictures, I would leave a very bad review. Right? So obviously, all of these things are going to have different ways of writing. So what we do in order to make sure that we understand all these different types of text is we build a... Now I've lost the word. Basically, we build a library of different types of texts. Can anyone remember what the word is that I'm thinking of? Inika?
Zero clue.
But basically, you make sure you've got a collection of the different types of texts. Okay? So, what I want you to do today, what we're working on is different text types. Okay, so let me quickly write this instruction. The intended audience and... Give me a sec. Okay. So the instruction. Find a text type and post it here. Only one of each type. Make sure to label the text type and genre and also state the intended audience and purpose of the text. If someone else has posted the text type, you cannot use it. You cannot, if someone else posts a newspaper article and labels it newspaper article, you cannot post another newspaper article. However, you can post something more specific. So you can post a sports report out of a newspaper. Do you understand? Now, each person is going to post 5 different types. So there are 30 of there are 6 of you. So I'm going to have a total of 30 posts, 30 different texts by the end of this. So you are not allowed to book something beforehand. You get to book it after you have pasted it. So you are racing against each other, because by the end, I promise you're going to be scrambling to find different text types. Okay. You may not use AI, please. Okay? Is this a fun exercise? I think it's fun.
Is there any like limit to how long or how short the text has to be?
No, not really, but you need to be able to read the whole thing to be able to tell me what the audience and purpose is. So if it's going to take you 20 minutes to read it, and you found a newspaper article, in that time that you're reading it, someone else might have found a newspaper article and then you can't post yours.
Okay.
I think this is cool. It's like a race against each other.
It's only one. Yes, just one per person.
No, you're each posting. What do you mean one per person?
One per type. I don't have to give like 4.
You have to do 5. Each person has to do 5.
Okay.
Okay,
Wait,
but
I have another question.
there's going to be a total of 30. I only want 1 newspaper article. I only want 1 blog post. Unless you specify what type of blog post it is. Because specificity is going to save you here. Okay. But it has to be easily distinguishable from another type that has been posted here. Yes.
Can it just be like a screenshot of the text?
Yeah. It's cool. Screenshots are actually best, because I presume you're going to be using the internet to find it, because I don't think any of you are going to be typing out sections out of books.
No.
No, I wouldn't either. I do value my time a little bit more than that. So screenshots, photos, I don't care what you do. One of you is going to get to do an advert. Well, one of you will get to do a short form advert. One of you will get to do a long form advert. But have fun. I am here, by the way. I'm just